Hello, welcome to Scrap Time episode 765. My name is Christine and on today's episode I'm showing you the Amy Tangerine Sketchbook Collection. Today I'm featuring the Sketchbook Collection from Amy Tangerine for American Crafts. And I'm starting with this art journal page that I made. I was inspired by all the little paint and that she had on her collection, and so I made the background with some Luminart H2Os. Then I added in these elements. I cut off one of the sheets of paper. It had all these little border designs. This flower was just white on one of the sheets. I cut it off the sheet and then just painted it in with some H2Os. And then there are these fabric little stickers, adhesive things. So I used one down here. And there's also a set of die cuts, and one says create every day. So I added that little flag to my sheet here. I'm just going to show you, this is the package for the die cut. So you get a whole variety of, from journaling sheets to cameras and that. And I've used a bunch of these on some other projects I'm going to show you as well. And then here's a few more of the fabric stickers. And I've used a few on some other projects I'm going to show you. So that was my journaling page. Then sticking with my postcard theme, I've made a bunch of postcards. And I did the same thing with the H2Os on the backgrounds of my postcards. Then here is, both of these are die cuts from the thing. And this was one of the fabric flowers. And what I've done is I've used multi-medium to adhere all my pieces down onto my postcard as well. I put it over the whole postcard just because this was a water-based ink. I don't want it getting wet and then running or that in the mail. So I put a layer of multi-medium over the entire postcard to protect it. And afterwards I went over with some archival ink just around the border just to give it, I find whenever you do the borders it just sort of helps enclose the design. So in this one, there's a sheet of paper with all these little elements, and I cut out a bunch of them and just put them down the side, and then this was one of the fabric stickers. So this was another die cut I added on. This was one of the fabric stickers, and then this was a border off the bottom of one of the sheets. So I thought that would be really cute on there. This was a piece that I cut off one of the sheets of paper, and then one of those borders from that same sheet, and then the die cut that says enjoy today. Then I love these clouds from one of the patterned pieces of paper, and then on the paper she had little hearts, so I just drew in some hearts myself. And then this was the fabric adhesive oh hello, or fabric sticker oh hello, and so I added it into the clouds. And these are all strips from the bottom of pattern papers. I just layered them on just like that, and then added in one of the die cuts with a brad. And we're back at the beginning. I also just want to show you, these are really cute little fabric brads. That one has little hearts and flowers, another design, and this blue one. So they're really cute little fabric brads as well, part of the collection. So we're going to make a postcard. I have this piece here that I've already done a background using the H2Os on. I'm going to be using Claudine Studio Multi-Medium Matte to glue down the elements. And I got, this is one of the die cuts. This was on the bottom of one of the sheets of paper. Here we have, I cut out from that sheet with all these designs. I cut this out. And then I think I'm going to use the little dots from the fabric stickers. So I'm going to start by just laying down some medium like that. And I know I'm going to stick this down here. And I'm going to get some more medium up the side here. And just stick that down there. And then I'll come back and cut off the excess after it dries. So I want my camera up here. Sort of like that. And once you put it on, you want to go over with another layer of medium, and that just protects that as well. And then I just down here at the bottom. And you might get this buckling. It happens sometimes, and it's just all part of it. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. So I'm just going to put these little dots down here. And then a bit more of the medium over top of them. So my postcard has all been covered. I don't have to worry now if it gets caught in a rainstorm in the mailman's bag. Okay, and I'm going to just let that dry before I cut off my excess pieces. My medium is pretty much dried, and I now have some residue here on my mat, and a good way to get rid of it is just to get a card and you just scrape it right off. And you see it comes right off. That's the great thing about being able to work on these craft mats. A lot of all mediums just come right off it. So back to our project. So now this is when I'm going to just turn it over, cut off these ends. And I'm now going to put a border around. I'm using archival ink. This is in plum. These come in a bunch of colors. I forget how many, but lots of colors. It's a waterproof ink, so I can put it right over top of my medium. It's going to stick to the medium, but it also won't come off if it gets wet. And I find just by putting a little border on, it just helps finish the project. You can put a single little border, you can put some smudges of it, just sort of like that. If you had wanted, you could have always stamped a message. I would have stamped the message though before covering it with all the multimedia. If you do want to stamp a message, like at this point, stamp it with the archival ink and still put, well, you could probably just leave it because archival is waterproof, so you could leave it, or if you want to protect it, you can still put another layer of the multimedia over the stamped image. So that is archival ink. This is our finished postcard using the Sketchbook Collection from Amy Tangerine for American Crafts. Well, that's it for today's episode. Be sure to check out my website at www.scraptime.ca. And on the next episode, I'm showing you a technique using pan pastels and Crafters Workshop stencils. So please join us. Thanks for watching Scrap Time.